Well, hello, everybody. We are at the top of the hour, and it is time once again for the Sage Circle Alliance Charter Membership Drive. So excited to be here. My name is Meryl Fury. I am a registered nurse and co-founder of the Sage Circle Alliance, as well as I am president and CEO of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. I have taken it on myself this month to every day wear a different t-shirt. I've been collecting crazy t-shirts and silly t-shirts for a while, all about fruits and vegetables and things like that. So that's what I'm doing, and why I'm not dressed professionally, except for these glasses. And with us right now, we have Mike Young of a plantbaseddiet.org. And we are just in the middle of a lively conversation about produce and how ripe it is and what is on our produce. So let's keep going with that conversation, even though nobody else heard the front end of what we were talking about. So my question to Mike was, first of all, he's holding a pineapple. Yes, true. He is holding a pineapple.
It's yellow. It's yellow. It's ripe.
Yes, it is ripe. So Mike is in the forest of, tell us where you are.
It's our new farm. It's a regenerative, chemical-free, better than organic. It's called Mountain Ridge Farm, and we're going to be growing cherries, sweet cherries, and sweet grapes up here.
Nice, nice. So do you have much experience farming, Mike?
No.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But I was growing up before life got busy, like elementary school and a little bit into middle school. I learned from my grandparents who had a garden, how to garden. So I did do that way back when, but I'm 54 years young now. That was decades and decades ago. I don't remember any of that at this point in time. But like you and I were talking, people need to learn how to grow their own food. And they, simply because, in my mind, people don't tell the truth. I've learned this, okay? I think we all know this. People don't tell the truth. And even if they are telling the truth, you still probably don't want to know what's in the food you're buying.
Probably not. So wait, before we go any further, we got to say this. It is actually officially our birthday for the SCA. Oh, it didn't work. Let's try another one. How do these things work? Oh, here we go.
Oh!
Let's try another one. Let's see if I can get it done. Okay, happy birthday.
All right.
Yeah, so it's our birthday today, and that scared my dog half to death.
Oh, yeah.
And we are celebrating the birthday. We are also having these conversations that are important about life on Earth and how we feed ourselves and the condition of the planet and the condition of the animals. So, Mike, you're saying about growing your own food and how important that is. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, well, there was no interruption there. This is a giant topic. Like you said, you started it out with talking about the APEEL additive or chemical that they put in food. That's like the new controversial thing out there. But as I mentioned when you first brought it up, I'm like, well, I don't know all the details about that, but I know it's a chemical. And I know that chemicals are designed to save labor for humans. They are not designed to help your health in any way, and they all have negative side effects. So I avoid all chemicals. And that's what we're going to do here at this farm, Mountain Ridge Farm here, is we're going to grow better than organic, because even organic it's the best so you can get right now, but they still allow certain chemicals out there, not many. But the thing is, and that's even if they're telling the truth, like I mentioned earlier, I would love to think that everyone tells the truth all the time. I would love to think that, but I know the reality of the world is that is not the case. So you got to do. Well, if you really know what you're eating, you got to grow it yourself. That's the only way I can say that for sure.
Pretty much. Yes, I agree completely. So let's go back to the question about APEEL. So I had asked Mike, had he heard anything about this chemical called APEEL, APEEL. It is a mono and diglyceride, which as far as I can tell is a trans fat that's getting sprayed on our produce. And we do not have to be told that it's being sprayed. There's a version for regular old commercially grown stuff. There is an organic version called Organapeel, and then there's something else called Edapeel, which I don't know what that does or why they have three versions of it. But it is designed to keep our food from rotting from the time it's picked to the time it lands wherever it's supposed to go. So what I've been noticing for years now is that, and this is what Mike, I'm just recapping our conversation, right? We've been what we've been noticing for years is that the produce doesn't rot like it used to. It doesn't get moldy, it doesn't decompose, and most recently now there are no fruit flies associated with the fruit or the vegetables, the potatoes. The stuff doesn't generate fruit flies like it used to. So it's something for us to really consider. Now we have VLynn just came in, so I'm going to add her.
Hello.
So we are talking about APEEL and produce and the quality of what we have to eat these days. Mike is, I'm kind of, we're just kind of talking about when we go to buy produce, and even in the best case, you're looking for organically grown produce. But now there's no real guarantee that it's even organically grown, or what's organically grown doesn't mean what it used to mean. Yeah, now it has to say it's 100% organically grown. Happy birthday. For it to be 100% like this, like this that Mike's holding. Otherwise, it could be maybe 20% organic, or 20%, 80% organic. I think they can put up to 20% of chemicals in it, however they're measuring.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
like you were saying, like it extends the shelf life, right? That's the point of this particular chemical, is to make that shelf life longer so that the company makes more money. Basically, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Unless they were in the composting business, and they wouldn't care. But I don't think these people are. So
no, I don't think so. I don't think there's any money in that business somehow.
Yeah, but although I compost all my pineapples, I get a lot. Let me just mention, because you and I mentioned it earlier. This pineapple, I eat so many pineapples, it's crazy, because my wife and I have found a good source. And I will say that yes, it's probably true, like you're saying, that there's less fruit flies, the produce lasts longer. But I will also say that we eat a lot of pineapples and they don't last. I get maybe 3 days max after I buy this thing. And I bought this one a day and a half ago. So it's getting to the very end. Okay. And anyway, open, it's gonna be half rotten if I don't eat it that fast. So my slogan is, the longer the shelf life, the shorter your life. So you want super short shelf life. That's what you want. You always want that. Shorter the better.
Totally. Agreed. So how are you today, Miss VLynn? What's up with you?
Doing great, thank you.
Good.
And that makes perfect sense. And it just brings to my mind that those of us that are a part of the SCA, that have our own areas of expertise, and then we hear things like this that's outside of our bailiwick, it's like, oh my goodness. So it really lends to, for me, the reason why I want to be a part of this community, because this is where I get this kind of great information that I would not have known that. I'm thinking organic is organic, and it's not.
Yeah. The definitions change as lobbyists come and go in our government. The definitions change.
And it all is kind of like the same reason, right? The companies, the large companies, they want to make as much money as possible. That's the thing. That's what's driving this. It's not our health. It's them making as much money as possible. And even if it's in a friendly industry like growing produce, which is, I would say, a friendly industry to us, right? There's still, like you said, VLynn, all these things we need to learn. I need to learn more about APEEL. Like I said, I don't know much about it other than it's a chemical, and I want to avoid it because I want to avoid all chemicals. I don't know of any chemicals that the bad outweighs the good for your health. I have yet to find one.
You're right.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so as a nurse, I'll counterbalance that. There are certainly some medications that I will take, right? There are some chemicals. Yeah, I know sometimes when we think of chemicals, maybe we're thinking of like petrochemicals or things that are only derived from labs, right? Only brought about in labs, or therefore saving human effort or increasing profit. right? Those kind of chemicals generally are, no, they're not good. But as a nurse, there's certainly some that we can agree with, right? There's like penicillin could be considered a chemical. It certainly has unnatural components. If I have meningitis, yep, I want.
Yeah, if you got a condition that's life-threatening or just something that's going to you forever unless you take something, then absolutely take it,
Right.
Yeah.
But by and large, what you're saying is true, Mike.
Yeah. It's for me, the concept of there is definitely a place for Western medicine and what Western medicine brings to the table with the medications and the ability to handle acute situations or even long-term situations where you have to balance the natural and the chemical until you can get to a point where the natural takes over and has a bigger place in, say, the healing process. But when we're talking about healing and prevention, I think we do want to go more towards the whole food, plant-based options that can be our first options. And, certainly where we're looking at information like this information on organic or not organic or partially organic, that needs to be more widely known, because then the question becomes, is partially organic better than not organic? It's like, is plant meat better than meat, than animal meat? And, is that a way that I can get more into this area of health and wholeness from a more natural perspective? I think, and this is the reason I believe that many of us have come to the table to make our contributions to the SEA, because we know that there's information people don't have.
Yeah.
We know that there's information that we have that we want to share and be a part of these conversations.
Yeah. Actually, when I was doing a little bit of research on our community, and I did quite a few interviews with people and asked them different questions about what was important to them and what kept them awake at night and what were their biggest fears, how did they get to this lifestyle, things like that. Almost 100% of the people, and I probably did 10 or 11 of those interviews, 100% of the people that I spoke to said that one of their biggest upsets or concerns was the amount of information that was not generally available to the public. And that if people knew some of this stuff, it might actually either change their behaviors, have them make different decisions on a daily basis, and might actually change their health in the near and long term.
Yeah. Here's a little nugget I can give you all. Maybe you've thought about this, because I didn't until recently. The last few years, somebody brought up to me. We're talking about growing plants. How about the condition of the soil that these plants are being grown in? Do we have to know what that even is? And what's better? What's worse? I mean, there's a lot of information in there that needs to be kind of gone through.
Right.
You're right. And it really brings home the question about why aren't we doing more backyard gardens? Well, because we know that if you go to the backyards in the state of Georgia, most of it is clay. So you can't grow. And you're talking about, raised bed, and then it becomes what kind of soil? How do you keep the soil nourished? And I mean, there's a whole lot behind it. And I think that that's one of the things for me that is exciting, is seeing the community gardens that are coming up. That, in our area, the neighborhood association has actually petitioned the county and gotten permission for a part of the county parkland to be donated. It's fenced off. It's about, 10,000 square feet, maybe 15 or 20,000 square feet of land, where we now have a community garden.
Nice.
And there's, volunteers, everybody's volunteers, but you can have your plot where you can grow things, but it's about growing to give. I hear people, I saw something yesterday, this woman's growing something in her garden and she's gotten super overabundance. And she's like, well, what do I do with all this stuff? And it was amazing to me to see the comments about, you can donate it to your local food bank or donate it to the church or, give it to your neighbors. I mean, but it showed me that there's so many that are new to this, because if you've ever had an overabundance of whatever it is that you're growing in your backyard, you're going to find people to give it to.
Yeah, you figure it out. You know what? I'm going to run and get some water. You guys continue. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
well, VLynn, you're talking about the soils. Like, I wonder how they do it there in the community gardens, because there's so many levels to this, right? I mean, the community gardens address a need where people cannot grow their own food because they don't have the space. Maybe they're in a closer in urban environment, right? But then when you take it out, you're like, well, what if the guy next to me is spraying chemicals on his plants or her plants?
Yeah.
Over here in the community garden, what are you doing?
Well, there are rules to the community garden, and one of them is no spraying of chemicals. But, I do know too that there's a thing about not growing a certain thing too close to a certain other thing, because they're not compatible as far as growing together.
Yeah.
And then there's, especially seasonally, you don't necessarily want to grow the same thing in the same place every season. So you want to rotate things. So there is somebody that manages the community gardens that knows this stuff, that, we're hoping that things work out for the better because of that. But, it's a great point, Mike. Somebody in a community garden really needs to know this stuff. You can't have 100% novices and get what you're looking for.
I'm a novice. I think you heard. I mean, I grew in elementary school and middle school based on my grandparents' influence, but I'm 54, so this was decades ago. So I'm learning. Like, I'm not growing pineapples here because we can't, but we're gonna be growing cherries on this farm here at Mountain Ridge Farm, and we're gonna be growing grapes. So, but I'm learning. I've already had a bunch of organic topsoil delivered because I'm on top of a mountain. I'm literally on the mountain ridge. If you look behind me, it just goes down because it just goes down from here. It's kind of strange that we're at the very top, but because of that, also it's solid rock here. I mean, it's rock. So I bought myself one of these mattocks, I think they call it, or more commonly known as a pickaxe. And I had all this soil delivered, and I'm gonna have to break all this rock up, and so I can plant the cherry trees in there. And we have our own compost pile going here. It's been started since last October. It's getting pretty big, but the stuff isn't ready yet. I'm going to have to bring in some organic compost too when I plant those. But all learning experience. I mean, I do not claim to be an expert. I just know that if I grow it, I will know exactly how it's grown. That's what I know.
So let me ask you about the pineapple.
Yeah.
Since I missed that part, where did the pineapple come from and how big is it? How much does it weigh?
Well, I don't know. I'm holding it up, so I'm standing too.
Okay, and it's in the palm of your hand, so it's not like gigantor.
It's as big as his head.
Well,
I
also tend to work out a lot. Yeah, it is as big as my head, isn't it? Yeah. I have a big head. So, this is something that we bought at a store. We can't grow these ourselves. Most pineapples are grown in Central America or Hawaii. Most actually Central America, I believe, at this point in time, on big pineapple farms where all they grow is pineapples, because one pineapple plant yields one pineapple, and it takes about a year or more to get to that point. So it is a very labor-intensive, low-producing type of an endeavor. But I love the fruit. Denise and I, if we can get them yellow like this, which is the only way you can get them, so that's what we do. A kind of a hobby of ours, or it's more than a hobby. It's a lifestyle, I guess. I'm a pineapple hunter, a ripe pineapple hunter. That's what I call myself now. Ripe pineapple hunter, because most pineapples are green. They don't look like this, okay? But I was able to get, I think I got 17 ripe pineapples a day and a half ago, and I'm going through them now. Actually, one day ago, I ate nothing but pineapples the whole day. I'd never done that before.
Wow.
And 7 whole pineapples, cut them up fresh, ripe pineapples. And, it was amazing, actually, because it doesn't hurt your mouth. This is the thing. People think, oh, pineapple hurts my mouth. That's because it's not ripe. Unripe fruit is not meant for human consumption. It's weird. It's like a two sides of a coin, right? One side, all bad. Next thing you know, when it turns like this, eat it because you got like 3 days, and that's it.
So when it's yellow like that or orange like that, whatever color that light color, that's when it's ripe and ready to be eaten.
Oh, yeah, full yellow almost. Here's the thing with pineapples, though. We are pineapple experts. I will say I'm an absolute expert in pineapples. I know because I've heard all kinds of people tell me, hey, Mike, you can just turn it upside down. It'll ripen. If it's green. I'm like, no. It will never be the same. I have tried. We buy so many pineapples. I'm probably the #1 consumer of pineapples in the world. Pretty confident in saying that. Okay. They don't ripen after they're cut off the plant. They will rot. That's what they will do. When this is starting to turn a little bit gray, I see a little bit of gray in here. That's rotting. That is not ripe. It's even if it turns a different color when it's turning gray, it's turning gray because it's starting to rot. Because I got this a day and a half ago. So
I have a question, Mike.
Most will ripen after they're picked, but not pineapples.
I have a question. So if you you get 17 pineapples and you eat pineapple only for 1 whole day, and I guess I'm thinking you're eating pineapple a lot over every day, right? Because you don't want them to rot.
Yes, got to eat them. When I buy that many, got to eat them.
Yes, right. Does it cause
does he have people there with him?
Well, there's that. And then does it cause you any sort of acidic reaction in your body, or do you notice that you are really detoxed very well, super cleaned out, anything like that?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a thing out there called the mucusless diet. Have you guys heard of that? Mucusless. Okay, now mucusless, most foods have mucus, including plants. It's more animal products, but there are a lot of plants that fit into that category. Fruit,
so you mean they cause the body to produce mucus? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Okay. They form that. The body forms that in as a reaction. The body reacts to everything you stick into it, everything. So that's why we want to eat plants, of course, because there's less negative reactions. And then, from what people say about fruit, as long as it's truly ripe. Let me state that. I have to state this. Has to be truly ripe. And as Meryl, you and I talked about, most tomatoes, for example, are picked green because they transport much easier that way, and then they'll gas them to turn them red. They're not ripe. Even if they look ripe in the store, they're not ripe. Okay, That is not the way a tomato ripens. When one ripens on the vine, that is a ripe tomato, and that is very come by these days.
That's the difference between the tomatoes that you get from your garden or your neighbor's garden in the summertime versus what you get at the grocery store in the winter.
Yeah, so that's a key. Okay, I want to stress that. Actually, I have a new slogan I call "normalize ripe fruit" because I think
we're going to send you to Washington, and you can lobby for that. I think.
Yeah, and this is why people say I can't eat that much fruit. I can't. Well, that's because it's not ripe. It's not meant for your consumption when it's not ripe. It's only meant for your consumption when it's fully ripe. That's the only time.
Okay.
And then when it is, you will have 0 negative reactions. If it doesn't meet fully ripe, you will have all kinds of negative reactions. So that's what I can say about that in general. I mean, it depends on the fruit, but yeah, this is not going to cause my mouth to explode. I'm going to get sores, everything else. That's called unripe pineapple. This is a ripe pineapple. It's a completely different product.
That is so interesting.
And I can tell you, I am the most sensitive person alive that I know of. All right. In fact, you both know, I think I wrote a book called Live to 150. I based it all on my personal experience because I am hypersensitive. And I can tell you, my wife and I eat these together. Like you said, you asked, is there another person? Yes, Denise. Okay, so she eats pineapples with me. She loves them just as much as me. We both agree that if we could find fully ripe pineapple all the time, we'd probably eat nothing but that. But it's not possible. So we fill it with all other kinds of plants. But let me also say that when we get a pineapple that's not fully ripe, okay, and I mean I am super sensitive. Like I said, I can tell when it's, 80% ripe instead of really a ripeness level that is fit for human consumption. I will start to feel it in my mouth. It won't be crazy bad, the pain, but I'm like, oh, this one, I shouldn't have bought this one. Just shouldn't have bought it. It's a lesson for me. And I'm like, I gotta be more careful when I'm picking out this fruit, because this doesn't happen that often anymore, because I'm extremely selective. I go in there, I walk up to the pineapple display. I just go through every single fruit on that display. I'm spinning them around. I'm looking. See this little green section in the back? I will probably cut that out of the fruit. I will not eat that. But it'll look different on the inside too. It'll look white. Everything here that's yellow will look yellow on the inside. And this little section here will have a little white tint to it. So I'll cut that out. I won't eat that. I'll compost that.
So I have a question also. I learned about choosing pineapple that you should be able to pluck a leaf out of the top very easily. That's one way to know that it's ripe. Is that true?
I've heard. I see no correlation between that and a yellow pineapple.
Okay.
I never pull them out of a yellow pineapple because I already know this is ripe. It's your eyes. Like, in my mind, this is why we have colored vision. Like, if you were eating straight animal products, you would not need to see in color. There's no reason. But if you need to seek out ripe fruit, you must have extremely fine-tuned colored vision in order to pick fruit. That's why I really think that ripe fruit is probably one of the best things that humans can consume. But it's not normal. Like I said, ripe fruit is not normal. That's a problem. In society right now, we have a long way to go. A long, long way to go. And actually, I'm very thankful for the Sage Circle Alliance, because these kind of things are going to be possible because of the Sage Circle Alliance and everyone getting together, right? I mean, this is not something I can solve on my own.
Right. And even just to educate people about it is the beginning. A lot of what we talk about for activities, what the Sage Circle Alliance is doing is about education a lot, even within our own set of practitioners, our own members, just like the three of us are sitting here learning lots and lots about pineapples from Mike. And I was talking about APEEL earlier, and Mike didn't know it, not even as much as I know, which is not a lot. Nobody knows a lot about it. We all learn from each other, and that's one of the beauties.
Yes, we do.
And Meryl, you and I were talking too. There's other things that ripening agents that get injected into the fruits with hypodermic needles, specifically watermelons. You all probably don't even know it happens. I don't. I have no way to even tell, but it does happen. It's unfortunate.
That's awful. I've heard that they dye sweet potatoes and they dye oranges, right? Wow. We don't know that that's happening.
I have no way to know.
Yeah, we have no way to know.
So that's the thing. Like for us, like for our organization, we try to push the boundaries of what's possible. And we work with and have properties in Ecuador where you can grow plants outdoor all year round. So you can live that lifestyle of growing all your own food. It is possible in a place like that. So we're trying to experiment and explore that type of a paradigm, which is really almost been unexplored thus far in terms of human evolution, I'd say, because these are people growing their food outdoors. Indoor possible, right? You could have indoor farm wherever you are. But I do believe that there's something special about the actual sun growing that plant. I can't give you behind it, but I do believe that there's something different and better there.
And there is. I agree completely. Okay, I'm switching the subject. Are we ready?
Oh, wait, let me just interject.
Yes,
Part of this is ideas and, seeing the future, the vision and stuff. And part of my background is in commercial real estate. And so one of the things that I did coming into this space and I am looking for is a commercial builder, small business, somebody who wants to build, what do you call them? The extensions to a house where you can have your indoor garden. And it can have a glass or what do you call it? The kind of thick glass that's not really glass, but it's the plastic. So sunlight can come in, but because it's so close to the house, you can hook it up to the water system right from the kitchen, and you can, keep your moisture going, and you can grow year round in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a great business for people
Yes.
to, a contractor to be able to say, this is what I do, and market that, wherever he is or she is, and really build a huge business from that. So
Mhm.
that was my idea. I wanted to interject. Thank you.
That's a great idea. I love that
Yeah.
idea.
You all probably don't know that I volunteer with a better than organic chemical free farmer in Northern Virginia. It's a few hours from here where I am right now. He's been kind of the inspiration for me doing this farm here, but he has what's called a geothermal greenhouse. So he has gone underground. He's growing tropical fruits in Northern Virginia in this greenhouse.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because you can temperature control it, you can
Yes.
water control it, you can have different things growing at different times. You can have it small, you can have it medium or large size. I mean, there's just so many things you can do with something like that. I love that.
We have
Yeah.
Karen Ranzi just came in. Are you ready to come in, Karen? Here we go.
You can hear me. Hi,
We
how
can
are
hear
you?
Hello, welcome.
Hi, Karen.
Welcome,
Nice to
welcome.
see you.
Yes, nice to see you too. We are just, hold on.
Whoa.
Happy birthday, SDA. Woohoo.
So we're being a little silly. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good and looking forward to talking with you today.
Yeah, for sure. So we have Mike and VLynn and Karen and myself. We're all founding members of the Sage Circle Alliance. We are all dedicated and committed to making the world a better place through whole food, plant-based lifestyle, and I don't know. I wanted to say
Advocacy. We're
yeah,
advocating this for the world.
Definitely advocacy is
right.
so important in spreading this valuable message. By the way, that pineapple looks gorgeous.
He's
What a
showing off.
beautiful pineapple. I feel like eating it right now.
I bought 17. I go pineapple hunting. I had to go to 5 different markets to get that many. But I'm a ripe pineapple hunter. That's one of my new titles that I have.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
that's
how
sure
do
a
you-
beautiful catch.
right?
Yeah, well, I will not buy it unless it's yellow. I won't buy it. I mean, I am the most particular produce consumer you're gonna find, at least as far as pineapple. And as I mentioned to VLynn and Meryl, I do think that I'm probably the person in the most, I don't know, the biggest pineapple consumer, individual consumer in the world. I probably buy more pineapples for myself as an individual than anybody else. I can comfortably say that.
Wow. So if I have any pineapple questions, I'll definitely go to you.
Right?
Yes.
There you
I want
go.
to know when you go to the grocery store and you are, when you're checking out with your 17 or 20 pineapples, what do they say to you, Mike? Does the cashier
I don't-
say anything?
Well, it's been a rare occasion where I've gone to a store. I think one store I was able to buy 15 because they just got a shipment in, and it was like the most gorgeous fruit I have ever seen. Okay, that is very rare. It's kind of like winning the lottery. Usually what I have to do is go to 5 or 6 stores and I'll buy maybe one pineapple at one store, maybe 5 or 6 at another, or somewhere in between at the other stores. And then I end up with this many because, it just depends on when I have time to do it. It's time consuming is the other thing. So whenever I have the time, I just go for it. And I have my reliable sources. Most markets are completely unreliable for ripe pineapples. I will say that.
That's true.
Places, only a very few that I can go.
Right.
What is your feeling about conventional versus organic? Because I've heard that there's so much spraying going on with the pineapples, especially.
Yeah, well, I can't comment, except for I will tell you that I may have bought an organic pineapple once. The problem is I've never, except for maybe once, seen a ripe organic pineapple. They're always green. So
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Unripe fruit is not meant for human consumption. It's going to cause more problems for me than the benefits. So I won't even buy it. And, they also don't ripen after you pick them. So it's not going to get any better. But yeah, I don't know the ins and outs. And but that's why I'm getting into more growing as the years go by. I want to start, we have projects in Ecuador where we've got pineapples in our yard at La Casa Mas Alta, our house, our tiny house there. And hopefully within the next year, we'll have some fruit and I can tell you more.
Wonderful. Yeah, my son lives in Costa Rica and he grows his own pineapples.
Yeah. So, well, you know how labor intensive it is, right? One pineapple a year from each plant. And that's it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Wow.
For one.
That's crazy. So I wanted to ask this, what I was going to change the subject to, something way more trite than pineapples. So I was wondering, Mike brought his pineapple. This is a party. I would like to hear what people like to have for party food. I will start because I'm so proud of my creation. I don't know if you can see that. So that is, wait a minute, let me see if I can keep it from sliding. That is air pop popcorn with peanuts.
Show it again. Air pop popcorn with
peanuts and chocolate drizzle. That's the chocolate was made with dates and maple syrup. So these, I'm a little bit of a chocolate snob. You might be a pineapple snob, Mike. I'm a chocolate snob.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that too.
So I've been getting these chocolate chips. They are made by the company is over here, Hue or Who, I don't know. They have no sugar added. They're sweetened with dates only. So the only ingredients are, can we find let's see if I can read the ingredients. No, she can't read them. One moment. One moment, please. Organic cacao, organic dates, cocoa butter, and vanilla beans. That's all that's in there. And then to make the chocolate drizzle, I added maple syrup just to thin it. And then drizzled it over the popcorn. This is actually really very tasty. Super easy to make. I would take this to a party easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you, I forgot my question. You air popped the popcorn?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, with the chocolate on it and the peanuts, you don't even know it. Yeah, the air pop is not a concern at all.
Okay, so you actually put the popcorn kernels and the chocolate and everything. Okay.
I put the popcorn kernels in the air popper.
Pop the popcorn.
First, and then put them on this plate with parchment paper. Threw some peanuts on top of it, and then melted the chocolate, mixed it with the maple syrup in a double boiler, and then just dipped a spoon in it and threw the chocolate all over the top.
Okay.
Yeah, really good. I recommend. I highly recommend.
Yeah. Well,
I love it.
Karen, if you were going to go to oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
You made popcorn. You didn't add any oil or salt. That's what I heard, and that's
I did not.
I want.
That's way beyond what most people are doing.
Well, yeah. No, this is really good.
Yeah.
So Karen, if you were going to go to a party, what might you take?
Well, guess what? I'm having a party next week.
Okay. And what are you going to have?
I host these parties. I was just out in Colorado for many months because I had a third grandchild.
Right.
And now I'm back in New Jersey as of 2 days. And so I decided that next week I would host a little party to some of the people who I just haven't seen for a long time in my community. And most of the people, I have like a pretty big plant-based community that I started creating back in 2006 in New Jersey.
Wow.
And it's grown tremendously. And so I have some people coming for this party. And I'm making some really yummy things. And I do raw food, raw vegan. That's been my thing. I've been raw vegan for 30 years.
Nice.
And I've been vegan for 35 years. And so I have a friend in town who has this big truck, and he goes around making cooked vegan food and raw vegan food. He's called Triborough Vegan. And so Nick and I are doing this party together, and he's making whole cooked food, oil-free, salt-free, and I'm doing the raw food. So we're gonna kind of combine. So I'm gonna do some raw food entrees, some salads, some party food, dessert kind of things. Like I'm making like you want to talk about chocolate. I'm doing a chocolate mousse. So, and every time I've served this at a party, like my guests go crazy for it. And it's only 4 ingredients. It's so funny the way it's like so quick and people think it's so elaborate. It's just a half a cup, but of course I'm doing it for the number of people. But the basic recipe is a half a cup of soaked medjool dates, half a teaspoon of ground vanilla or alcohol-free vanilla extract, 1 avocado, the flesh of 1 avocado, and a half a cup of raw carob powder.
Wow.
And water. So it's like a half a cup or more, depending on the consistency that you want of water. And blend all that up, and it's the most delicious chocolate mousse. And it tastes like chocolate.
Really? Now, I got fooled by carob when it first became common in the United States. To me, carob does not ring the chocolate bell. You know,
Close.
it doesn't.
It depends. It depends for me, and it depends on the recipe. This recipe, it works.
Interesting. I'll have to try it.
There's also different companies, and I don't know why some companies have a carob that looks almost like, I don't know, it looks almost like coconut. It's very whitish. And then other companies have the carob is darker, like a chocolate.
Right.
Like a brown. And it looks exactly like chocolate in this recipe. I think I have a carob from Sun Food Nutrition. And then I've used another carob. I'm trying to think which company it was light. So you want to make sure that it's dark like chocolate.
Right.
Because if you're making a chocolate recipe. So, but I fool so many people with this recipe. I don't even tell them that there's carob in it.
Oh, how funny. So go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Well, I want to ask both of you, Meryl and Karen, do you know if carob has caffeine in it? Because obviously I know chocolate does. Cacao.
No caffeine. That's why I use it.
Yeah. Okay. Because that may be the difference. If it's not going to hit the same, it's not.
Well, yeah. Some people will notice that, but I can tell you that people come to my party. They don't know that I'm using carob in it. You know, unless somebody asks me for the recipe, but sometimes I'll even take them aside so that not everybody hears that there's not chocolate in there. But the people all tell me that my food gives them great energy and that they love it.
Nice.
And I've been able to actually get some people off of things like coffee by, you know, some people I've worked with who are like drinking coffee all day. And they're not feeling good because of drinking coffee all day.
Yeah.
So that's one of their goals for themselves. And carob, if they are making the right combinations, the carob can really, really help with having them have snacks and other things that they love that don't have the stimulants in them.
Well,
now I will eat a little bit of cacao, raw chocolate once in a while. I'm okay with that as long as it's not in the evening. If I have cacao in the evening, like I'll be up all night.
Yeah. Well, here I got another thing to think about for deep thoughts here, because obviously I'm in the think tank. But it reminds me, I've had some discussions with some of our neighbors in Ecuador, Terra Frutis. One of them tells me that his theory, this is his theory on caffeine or anything that contains caffeine. He believes that caffeine is there for a natural defense mechanism for the plant to ward off insects specifically. And the reason why it gives humans a pep up is because of what it is, something that is really an insecticide. So it gives you this giant, it's either a fight or flight. In humans, it's it's going to be a fight, I guess, response. And it's going to speed you up, and then you're going to crash afterwards, which is obviously how it works. Because you got to take more after some time period. So I'm exploring that anyway in my own mind and watching him and having conversations with him, because it seems to make sense to me, but I can't prove it one way or the other.
I have no idea. I've got no comment on that one, which is rare, Mike. I nearly always can find a comment on something.
Well,
And so he's saying that we shouldn't be taking it in at all.
Well, let's put it this way. What is optimal for humans, and what is a diet that we've had traditionally just because we needed to survive? There's two different diets, right? He's trying to move away as far as possible from a survival mode diet, which we don't need to be in anymore because we're in an abundance society, to, what is best. And he's exploring it. He says, I don't know. He said, I can't tell you for sure, but this is what I think's going on.
And it makes me just stay in awe about the human body. The human body is so amazing. I was listening to, maybe it was Dr. Furman or somebody the other day, and they were talking about poison and basically what happens in the body with poison. Too much and you're dead. But a little bit of poison almost doesn't even affect you. And it's about dosage. And I think they were talking about some foods like meat and what have you, which is really the issue, right? If you only eat meat once a week or once a month, or you only eat a little bit at one meal a day or something like that, your body may be able to better tolerate that than what some people are doing, eating meat 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the only thing that they're consuming in a day is meat, and the body is looking at being poisoned. It's just like oversaturated with poison, and it's reacting to that, which is why, obesity and all of the other things, high blood pressure, cholesterol,
diabetes.
Yes, exactly. And, we were talking about the education and the fact that people just don't, people hear sayings like everything in moderation, and it's a cliche. It doesn't mean anything anymore, you know, and it's just, we have to start breaking things down to unlearn things so that we can learn the right things.
Right. What you're talking about, the poisons, I'm going to bounce this off of Karen. Karen and I get to work with children a lot of the time. Karen in a very different capacity than I do. I'm going into classrooms and Karen's working with them one-on-one for physical challenges that they're facing. I think, and Karen, you please chime in on this. I think when we are giving our children, because their bodies are so small, right? And they're growing at a rapid pace, cells are dividing and they're, gaining centimeters by the day. You can almost watch kids grow sometimes. Mm-hmm. Because they're growing like that, as we are giving them poisons to eat, these chemicals that, Mike, we were talking about earlier, the petrochemicals, the dyes, the genetically modified foods and all that, has a really noticeable negative effect on kids quickly.
Very quickly.
What do you say, Karen?
Yeah, because their bodies are just growing and they're taking in everything and reacting so much more than an adult would, because an adult who's been eating this way with all of these poisons coming in on a regular basis, eventually the body doesn't even react anymore. The body loses its intelligence, really, except for it knows how to hold on to it so that you won't die. I mean, basically, the body is extremely intelligent and is able to store these poisons. For kids, they react to it much sooner. They'll get sick, but as they get older, less and less, they start to adapt. They start to be able to adapt and store the same way that adults do.
Yeah.
But I've also seen, which is what makes me so optimistic, because I've worked for many, many years. My before becoming a health coach in the vegan and raw food movement, I was a speech and language pathologist for 43 years. And I still bring in a lot of that information into my coaching. And what I've seen is truly impressive, that children with autism or kids with attention deficit, you start making changes and giving them whole plant foods
Yeah.
that are rich with nutrition. And you start almost immediately seeing those changes that you're talking about, Meryl.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring Rachel in right now, just because we can. Even with that, hi Rachel. We're talking about chemicals in the food with children in particular, and feeding children healthy food.
And
Along
I'm
with,
just going to run. I have to get a charger.
okay,
I'll
okay,
be
go
right
ahead.
back.
Along with increasing the nutrients in the food by giving them whole plant foods, you're increasing everything and the fiber, right? You were also decreasing the chemicals, right? So you're taking out, hopefully, the blue number 12 or the titanium
Red
white,
9.
whatever, or the red 40 or the whatever these things are, all of these horrible chemicals. So the child doesn't have to fight that as well. So just not long ago, there's a lady I know who, her daughter at 10 years old came home one day. Now the mom had kept the daughter's diet very clean from pregnancy, birth forward. Diet had been very clean, predominantly whole food, plant-based, no garbages, no colors, no heavy sugars and all that stuff. The girl had no issues with behavior, no physical issues, no, all her biomarkers, her blood pressure and all her blood labs and everything else, all within normal limits. The little girl came home from school, the first week of school this school year, and said to her mom, "I'm tired of being bullied. I want to eat like all the other kids eat." Well, the mom was, of course, crushed and sad for her daughter. And oh my gosh, so she allowed this little girl to do an experiment. The experiment ran for 8 weeks, and the girl was able to eat whatever she wanted during snack at school. Breakfast was still the same. Lunch was, whatever they sent from home, and dinner was still the same, but she was able to, go off the rails for a snack. Within a couple of weeks, she started getting behavior reports sent home from school. I talked to the little girl herself just a couple of weeks ago to ask her what was her experience like. And she said that she was so excited because all this time she had kind of been left out of a lot of stuff and bullied and, just didn't have a great experience with friends at school. She always felt like she was missing something. And when she started eating the Doritos and the Takis and the Cheetos and all of that stuff, she just, finally felt like she was one of the cool kids, right? But she said what she didn't expect was that after eating that, she would come home from school and just be so tired, no energy left. All she would want to do is sit on the couch and watch television. And if her parents asked her to do anything like, go pick up your clothes that you just dropped in the middle of the floor, and I'm nothing major, right? The little girl would snap, she'd get angry, she'd have a tantrum, stomp her feet, want to have argue about it, blah, blah, blah. And this is what the little girl herself told me, that she didn't realize at the time that the food would have that kind of an effect on her. The experiment, like I said, lasted 8 weeks. It ended on Halloween, and it took her probably another 3 months to wean that stuff out of her body. Where, every day at a certain time, she would just get so tired, right? And then she would want sugar, she'd want chips, she'd want cookies, she'd want something, right? It took her like 3 months to get it out of her body. Now, looking back, she's able to see what kind of impact that had on her.
Was the mother able to, when she was transitioning back and she was having all these cravings, how did the mother not give it to her when that was what she wanted and she was probably screaming for?
You know what? That is such a good question, because I think that is exactly what happens to a lot of parents, right?
Yeah.
Here's my child having
Happened
a
to me.
meltdown. Okay, right? There's the kid having a meltdown, and I don't want to deal with the meltdown, right? It's just easier to have the cupcake, have it, right? It's just easier.
But what do you think?
The parent being bullied by the child.
Right. So
It's
typical.
but I think we all would know, right? As a parent, even though it's much more difficult to insist that they do the right thing, is that the thing to do in that situation?
Well,
I mean,
that's the challenge, right? That is absolutely the everyday challenge for parents.
yeah.
Hold
Their
the
parents.
line. Hold the line. It's just so hard, and food is just one of the lines we have to hold.
Well, and it's really hard when all the adults are really doing the same thing,
Right.
right? Like
Right. Or
they're stuck in the same trap.
Right.
So it's hard to implement something that you don't know how to do for yourself, too.
that's right. Or your child's going over somebody else's house,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
there they
I
are
had
eating
that.
all
I
that.
had that happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I
That's
had to
not easy.
actually tell other parents that my kids had allergies when they didn't.
Ah, there you go.
I had
Yeah.
to tell them that so that they would hopefully not give them some of their things that their kids were eating, that my kids would eat and react to.
Right. Right.
And-
So what in this case, what the mom did, they just didn't have it in the house.
Right.
So when the child, at 3:00 in the afternoon or 11 o'clock on a Sunday or whatever it was, would say, I want a Tootsie Pop or whatever she would say, it was like, we don't have any of those, but we have dates, we have raisins, we have apples, strawberries. How about a smoothie? Something of pineapples, right? Got plenty of those. So she just would substitute, and she was dedicated to making sure that the girl didn't.
Meryl, go ahead, Mike.
Okay. My wife Denise and I have been talking about this. We've raised kids. Our kids are adults. They're not kids anymore. I've apologized to them because I didn't know all this information when they were growing up, and now they have to relearn everything, and they don't want to, of course, But, something I got thinking about recently with Denise and I is that, look at all these, like, we're having a party here, right? Birthday party, right? But we're not hurting our health to celebrate. But every other party, every other birthday party, every holiday at school and everything else, it's a celebration of junk food.
It is.
We're indoctrinating everybody, and they have to work their way out of that later on. It's like we're setting them back so far in the early years. I just can't believe it still goes on.
Yeah. Mike, I wouldn't feel bad that you didn't know about it when your kids were young, because I did know about it when my kids were young, and I still had difficulty with, like, all the other parents told me that I was mean to my kids. Can you imagine other parents telling you that?
Oh, yeah.
Parents of my kids' friends telling me that I was mean to them because I was feeding them healthy foods, these fruits and vegetables.
I love, Meryl, that this mom gave the daughter some agency, though, because I think that's key. Our kids were 6 and 8 when we transitioned, and we were super strict in the beginning. And then my son went to a birthday party and had, I can never remember if it was 6 hot dogs and 12 cookies or 12 hot dogs and 6 cookies, because it was the only place he could get the junk, right? And so then I realized, okay, this is setting up the forbidden fruit kind of thing. And that's a whole, you don't want to go there either.
Right.
So, and in a recent interview with the Esselstyns, they said, Brian and Jane said with their kids, they let them, when they went to a party or whatever, they didn't say you can't have any cheese pizza ever or whatever. They let them make their own decisions. And so that's what we started doing. And a few years later, my son was invited to a birthday party at a pizza parlor. And back then we were doing enzymes, like if we had to go somewhere and eat something we didn't want to eat. Now I know those don't really work, but I asked him, do you want an enzyme so that your stomach doesn't hurt after you eat the pizza? And he said, no, actually, if I have an enzyme, I'll eat more. If I don't have an enzyme, I'll only have one piece. And he was in like 4th grade. And I thought, this is smarter than I am.
Right. Brilliant.
So it's like they learn over time then to self-regulate, which is what they're going to have to do when they go out in the world and they leave your home. And my kids are now 20 and 22, and they cook whole food, plant-based, no oil on their own because they feel better and they know the effects of, eating something that doesn't agree with their body.
And I also truly believe that as parents, we have to be the action model. If we're setting an important role model for our kids, whether they're doing it or not, they're always going to know that. And my kids have told me that that role model has been really helpful for them, because my kids now in their 30s, they're both very, very conscious of health. And even though one is married to somebody who's not, she is still setting that role model. And her kids ask a lot of questions, and they also eat really a lot of healthy foods. So even if the father is giving them something, and my daughter doesn't want to fight, so she does not fight with him. She just keeps setting her role model and giving her kids really healthy food, healthy plant food, and they're really loving it. And so if they eat something that's not good for them, I think a lot of times that they end up finding out themselves.
Yeah, it's a good point, Karen, because kids will sniff out hypocrisy really quickly.
Yeah.
So if you're, sneaking your own treats, they know what's going on.
You mean that bag of chips that's underneath the seat in my car?
Right.
Yeah. It's key too to allow them to experiment. When I first started my journey, no one in my household was eating vegetables the way that I even did before I was 100% plant-based. And as I started transitioning, I was the cook in the household, and I was making everything that everyone could eat, and I was making the vegetables, but it wasn't as pronounced as when I stopped eating meat. And it got to the point where I had to tell them, look, I can't do this for you anymore. I'm not eating this way. I can't cook this way. You're on your own. And, they're grown. It's like, you're on your own. My grandson, I think at the time was like 17, something like that. And he was cooking his own meals. But I started thinking, oh my gosh, if I think that stuff is poison for me, how can I cook it and serve it to my family?
Yes.
Talk about hypocrisy. Talk about, I woke up one night in a cold sweat, just out of a dream of I've poisoned my family. They're all dead, and it was like, I can't do this anymore. And we have to really teach each other how to take those stands. And I was going to ask you, in the experiment with the little girl, did she have, we're talking about the cognitive realization from the experiment. Was there any physical stuff
There were
actually manifested?
Yes, there was. So we were able to get, and this is a project that we're still working on, actually. So we were able to get labs on the little girl before the experiment started. Full set of blood work, urine, and a general health check, right? Then she went through her 8 weeks, and when it was over, we got the other labs at the end. She showed marked change in liver inflammation at the end, and she broke out in impetigo on her face I think I'm going to say it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the experiment. So the doctor, even though impetigo is seen as a bacterial illness, it's a rash, right? Bad, nasty rash. They also connected it to the liver being impacted with inflammation and being weakened in its ability to hold off infection in this little girl. So she had to go through the whole process of her skin. She had a big rash on her face, took up nearly half of her face.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge realization there.
Yeah. And even, interestingly enough, the little girl's, she's 11 now. I just saw her a couple weeks ago. She was talking about how at her school, for like a holiday, not like a holiday, not like, our Christmas, Thanksgiving holidays, but for like just a fun day, let's call it that way. They were having McTeacher's Day. So they brought in McDonald's for the entire school. And the mom called me actually and said, how do I fight this? It is viewed as a holiday for this school that everybody here gets to have McDonald's. And my daughter, who's just weaning off of that crap, now is going to be re-exposed to it. You talk about, Mike, you were saying how we celebrate eating toxic foods, and I call it carcinogens, petrochemicals. That's what we do, right? Very difficult if that's what we're teaching our children all the time.
Yeah,
that's how you celebrate.
Because like all of you have said, it sounds like you're ostracized as a parent or a student if you try to do anything different. Still in 2024, I mean, when are we going to get out of this? We have to get out at some point, and that's. I know, VLynn, you asked about the vision for the Sage Circle Alliance. I would love to see in a couple of years that's starting to change, right? All of a sudden, it's starting to be weird to accept this food-like product as something that you eat.
I would love to see the cultural norm for how we feed our children poor quality, high calorie, no nutrient foods. That is a cultural norm we have in the United States. That's what we do. That's what we think children are supposed to eat. Donuts and chips and Skittles and the rest of the garbage.
And because of marketing,
I
mean, there's some very intelligent scientists out there who are helping companies to market these products. And that's why people are so indoctrinated. They think it's okay.
Yep.
They think it's okay, and they actually think that we are mean, neglectful parents by not letting our kids indulge,
right,
and become part of this whole thing. And we all have people in our own families, friends, who are doing it too. It's not like it's just people out there. It's close to us as well. It's hard when you believe something so strongly and you see it so clearly and you know the truth about it, which a lot of people are just not getting, because when they turn on the television, they see all of the animal food and all of the processed junk food that we should eat.
Right.
And on the next commercial, they see all the medications that you should take food on the previous commercial.
Right. So true. So true. I was just doing some research for an article that I'm working on. It's going for journal publication, and my section is supposed to be on the connection between food policy and law and child nutrition and health. What is the connection? I mean, I have a vague idea. I'm sure I still don't know, but oh my goodness. The impact that our government and the laws that are written and the way that lobbyists can approach anyone at any level of government, and the impact of our campaign finance law and the Federal Trade Commission. Oh my gosh, it is unending. It is unending. And all of those agencies, all of them, the FDA, the USDA, the CDC, you can go on, have something to say. That the environmental protection, all of it has something to say about food. And all of what they have to say is, this is a free market economy. We have the right to free pursuit of liberty and happiness. And if your liberty and happiness includes eating red dye 40 and giving it to your children and having that poison the waterways at the same time, it's all right.
And that's why you end up with strawberry sugar cereal costing $3.99 and a pint of strawberries costing $9.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's so hard because you can't fault often the parents who are, having a hard time finding good stuff for their kids, or it's too expensive. So helping people understand it doesn't have to, you don't have to shop at a Whole Foods. You don't have to have some specialty market. This can be really simple and easy. I think that's key.
Yeah.
And to your point, Rachel, they can't just buy one $3.99. They have to buy 2 or 3. So they're spending the same amount of money They're
Yeah.
just not calculating it that way.
Right.
And it's, for me, looking at, like Meryl, what's happening in the state of Illinois with the bill that got passed that is mandating that, every school offer a child to be able to get, excuse me, a plant-based meal for lunch. That is incredible.
That's
That
great.
is something that we need statewide throughout the entire country. Just that move. And I think that, we're talking about huge problems, these big problems. We're not going to get adults to turn the ship as it relates to what they want. But most adults, especially that have children, will look at this like, well, I'll try and do best by my children.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is an option, I think that inroad may be one of our best as far as creating change within the system. Because, just the last 3 years, how the statistics have changed in relation to the health of children. And the fact that, the CDC says that children in this generation will not outlive their parents.
Right.
That's some scary stuff.
Yep.
And that's some stuff that I believe that we have enough power, potential, and influence to be able to say that needs to change. We're too late for us. That, however, needs to change. And being able to take it as a first step to have these plant-based meal options in every school in the country. And then from there, teaching about gardening, having that as part of the curriculum in high school. They don't let you learn how to sew anymore, or I don't even think you can take typing classes anymore because people are really, as they're coming from young ages, 1 and 2 finger typers really well. And so there are other things that we can do to really help children to get into the frame of health. And healthy self is a healthy family, is a healthy community, is a healthy nation as our children grow. And, we're talking about the vision of Sage Circle Alliance. I know that it's partly each of us bringing our contribution in vision. And I see that as being a way for us to even get commercials, those commercials you talked about, Karen, just like milk. There was a lobby, PCRM did a lobby. They did a whole push for ditch milk with the billboards, the signs on the side of the buses and on the benches and parks and every place for this time period that they were lobbying for milk to get taken off of television. People like me had no clue about that happening, but I tell you, I did notice when I didn't see any more milk commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And now, knowing what occurred to make that happen, we have the same ability in what it is that we want to see. And I believe that, even with this conversation, there are ways that if we can get that inroad, we need to find out what PCRM did and duplicate it and make it for the medications, because parents are looking at it and they're going to their doctor and saying, I need this, I want this. Children are thinking the same thing. When I get old enough, I'm getting this. And then thank you, Meryl, for just giving me this piece of information to know that they have changed. Insurance, I believe, has changed to allow for gastric bypass surgery for children.
So it is that the American Academy of Pediatrics a year ago changed their guidelines for how to manage children with obesity. So that a child at the age of 12, if they are diagnosed as obese, meaning that they're at the 95th percentile on the growth chart, we can offer them, well, the pediatrician can offer them weight loss medications. And if they are 13 years old and at the 95th percentile, then we can offer them bariatric surgery. Yes. And I'm assuming that the insurance companies will follow suit because that's what they do.
That's shocking. That is
Yeah,
really
it really is. And to your point, Meryl, in the beginning of this, the economy, right? Like we're going to have to work within this system. And I think it's sadly going to be bottom line dollars and cents, right? That's what makes the world go round, sadly, in this country. So, places like the Oakland School District, which implemented plant-based eating, they came out ahead. They saved millions of dollars. They saved water. They saved on their food. I mean, it was amazing. And they had all these health benefits. So I think once we get to the point where we have these statistics and the backup to say, look, if you don't want to do it for health, fine, but you're going to save millions of dollars by feeding your college students or your prison inmates or your senior citizens better food, then I think we might actually have some inroads. I mean, it's sad that it has to go that way. Also, I don't know if anybody saw yesterday, I think it was that PCRM announced that they've offered to buy Oscar Mayer.
No.
Because they want to make their hot dogs plant-based, because so many people eat hot dogs that this was a way for them. I think it was like, I can't remember how, it was an ungodly amount of money, but they saw this as an inroads to, if people aren't going to change, okay, fine, let's change the product for them. Let's go that route.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some crafty and
yes,
original thinking to make some of these stubborn problems go away.
Yeah.
I also think that within the school systems themselves, parents are getting angry. I've known people, and I myself, when my kids were in school, I homeschooled them at one point because I was so upset about the pizza party every Friday, candy being given as rewards for getting an A on a test. It was just constant. My kids were just bombarded with it. But there were parents, and I was one of them, that went to the PTA, the Parent Teacher Association. And there were a group of us that ganged up together, and we said, we're going to go in there and we're going to start to educate the parents who come to the PTA. And I think that when there's enough really concerned parents, that they can also do an amazing job with the schools, because we had the principal come in and listen to us, and other parents started to come onto our side as they were getting educated, because we did some presentations. And there are a number of parents, an increasing number of parents, who are very unhappy with these kinds of things. Like Meryl, I think you were the one who brought up this party where it was supporting McDonald's.
Yes, McTeacher's Day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, things like that. And the fact that, like, my daughter's teacher every Friday was having a pizza party for the kids that lasted like for 3 hours, eating pizza. There were other parents in the room who were also upset about this, and that's what got us together and made us go to the PTA, and we did have some success with that.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. There's McDonald's is trying to come up with their McPlant sandwich, and
can I just say that 8 years ago, I was in Copenhagen, and McDonald's had a placard outside the door, and they had a McPlant sandwich. They were serving that in Europe. It's just taken this long for them to bring it to the US. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. And that speaks to all of the other big food chains. But it may be a McPlant sandwich, but it's still got the same cheese on it. It's still got the same salt and sugar seasonings in it.
A lot of the same petrochemicals. Don't worry.
Exactly. So, and I'm one who looks at, there are people who really do need that in between
that transition.
Yes.
There.
But McPlant is not it.
I'm thinking in terms of the SCA. I feel like we're not letting Mike get a word in edgewise. Are you okay, Mike?
I'm trying to see my pineapple, because all this talk about food, this is what I want to eat right here, and this is what needs to be in. Because like everyone's saying, I don't understand. Where's the pineapple lobby?
Where's the pineapple lobby?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah.
Where's their voice?
So
but what I was thinking in terms of the SCA, Given that we have this kind of passion around children's food, and I'm going to assume that everybody of us 5 are passionate about it, and there's probably at least another 5 or 12 or 25 more in the Sage Circle Alliance, we could take that on to make a difference with children's food. We could take it on, like, even if it is just, okay, once in every 6 months, we try and get into a PTA meeting. We could start out that small, and then just grow from there. Try and make, recruit other people, get other parents who are interested, look for people who would support that kind of message. Because honestly, if we don't do something about the way we feed our children, if we don't make a big difference soon, we're going to wind up coming to a point where it's like too late. Because and here's another one. So I've been looking for graphs, specifically data, tables on the trend in childhood chronic illness. Is it really increasing? Is it staying the same? Is it going down? I'm looking for tables. I want to see the data. It is so hard to find. Yeah. So hard to find. I'm able to find data on overweight and obesity. I found a little bit on mental health. The rest of it is non-existent virtually, which leads me to think, okay, they don't want to tell us. It's not something that anybody wants us to focus on.
That messes with the business model.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
So at some point, I mean, if we keep going, let's just keep going. Any doctor in any doctor's office will tell you that they're seeing more obese kids, more kids with ADHD, more kids with autism, more kids with heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. Everybody will tell you the same story.
The rates of childhood leukemia are soaring more than ever before.
Yeah.
And that's really scary.
They're doing more autopsies on children, to even where they are finding children as young as 4 years old with heart disease.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been going on for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't remember who I heard this from, but apparently the military has adopted some plant-based food into their system because the new people coming in, new recruits, were so unhealthy. They realized this is a problem. We don't have healthy soldiers. We don't have people that can do that. So so I'm hoping, like, in the vast government system, that this kind of trickles down, right? Like, rather than waiting until they're 18 and sign up for service, maybe we should backstep, and get into the schools, make some changes at the base level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Technically, we are. Our military is not prepared. We are not battle ready.
No. And our children who are going into the military don't even realize what they're carrying in there with themselves. And what's really interesting too is the number that are going into the military, and you ask them why. It's not to serve their country. It's to basically take care of them when they die, to have a place to be buried.
Wow.
They're looking at the end game. If I don't make it out of here, at least I'll be taken care of. My family will have something.
Oh my goodness.
If I don't make it out of here and I do live, a decent life, I will still have that benefit of, having a place to be buried, because I've seen my family struggle with, the cost of burying people and taking care of sick people. The VA hospitals are one of and I didn't realize that my first introduction to the inside of a VA hospital was as a result of my grandson being in the Marine Corps Junior ROTC. And every year they would do a meal for the vets. And of course, it was still all of this ungodly, unhealthy stuff. But I got to see the inside of a VA hospital and the patients that were residents there at the time, some mobile, some not. And what they were being fed, we were adding to the atrocity.
Yep.
And my last year with them, I lobbied they wanted to do pizza. I said, let's do pizza and salad. at least let's do salad. And do you know that the salad was gone before all the pizza?
Mhm.
You know, it's an energetic thing that our bodies say, I want healthy stuff. Now I know that the pizza will come through and the meat and all of that, but you know, even inside of the Veterans Hospital, these people, men and women, are looking for healthy alternatives to, you know, I'm every day injected with something, or I have to take this cup of pills. And
Mm.
you know, it's like, where's the light at the end of the tunnel for someone who is in that situation? And, you know, yet most of them were older, but I have to tell you, there were some there who were in their 30s and 40s.
Hmm.
And, you know, for me, it was thinking life is not over for you. You know, the guy here who's 70 or 80 or 90, you know, yeah, they're at the end of the road, but you have the opportunity to change all of this, to turn it around. And it is the education that's missing. Education for the healthcare workers, education for the administrators, education for families. And I think that when we start, Rachel, like you were saying, really putting the focus on stepping it down to our children and focusing this message about what's going to save our planet. If our children are doing what we're doing, it's not. But if our children change, the planet will change. If our children change, animal ag will change, because our children aren't going to want to eat it. They aren't going to want to kill it. Some of the people who I've heard stories from talked about how they had a pet when they were growing up, and the fact that loving that pet and that pet loving them, whether it was a chicken or a dog or a cat, was like, I can't eat little people like this, little four-legged people. And they just would not eat meat anymore. And I think that we need to make that connection so
Yeah,
that they can.
I just want to let you know, you all probably don't know, but I refused to eat meat when I was a kid. I wasn't vegan. I didn't know what vegan was because I'm 54, you know, so I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I don't think anybody, oh, maybe Karen, you knew what it was.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but yeah, I always just had this instinct that, okay, this thing has been put on my plate. It's bloody. There's veins in it. There's skin and hair, sometimes hair, but you know, skin. Why would I want to eat that if I can eat something else? That was just my thought behind it. You know, it would just gross me out. But you know, of course, my story is I lost it to peer pressure because, like we were talking about, in the schools, everybody's eating meat, animal products, and McDonald's burger doesn't even look like it came from an animal. Who knows what's in there, like you were saying. So I had to relearn it all as I became an adult, but I had it right early on. So I want to say I agree. I fully agree that the kids know. They absolutely know. I knew, but I had it. I had peer pressure just yank that out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell a quick story? My favorite, most recent VA story, VLynn, and Meryl, maybe you'll remember his name. This gastroenterologist spoke at the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies Wellness Week this last year.
Yeah, Ed
And
McDonald.
yeah, okay,
Mm.
yes. He told this story about working in the VA, and he had this gentleman come in, and he was very overweight, and he was diabetic. He had all these health problems. His wife had passed away, and he was just in a horrible state. And he started by asking him, you know, what do you eat? And the guy said, hot dogs. And he said, okay, well, what do you eat for breakfast? And he said, hot dogs. And he said, okay, well, what do you eat for lunch? And the guy is starting to get like irritated. He's like, hot dogs. And he said, okay, well, but what about dinner? What do you eat for dinner? And the guy looked like he was going to, you know, he said it was a big guy. He looked like he was going to come at me. He's like, I told you, hot dogs. So this man, he's like, my wife died. I don't know how to cook. The only thing I like is hot dogs, and I know how to cook them. So the doctor asked him, is there any vegetable you like? And he said, yeah, I like broccoli, but I don't know what to do with it. So the doctor went and got some broccoli, came back, showed him what it looked like. Here's how you can simply cook it, microwave, whatever. So he leaves. And I can't remember if it was 3 or 6 months later, the guy comes back in and he's lost all this weight. He looks amazing. He's radiant. And so the doctor asked him, "Oh my gosh, good to see you. What are you eating?" And he said, "Broccoli." Said, "Well, what are you
were going to say that.
And he said, "Broccoli." "What are you eating for lunch?" "Broccoli." The guy had subsisted on broccoli for 3 or 6 months. So I'm like, it just goes to, that education piece, right? It doesn't have to be a lot, but just enough to get somebody going. And yeah, it was just such a fantastic story. It was
I
unbelievable.
love that story.
I forgot about that, Rachel.
That is really funny. Also.
It is funny.
I think a
Well,
lot of
imagine
people
somebody
would
introduced
like
him
to
to
hear
green
that.
beans. Oh my
I
goodness.
know, right?
my
And
gosh.
salad. Oh my gosh.
Right. Tomatoes. Open your world up, right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, blueberry,
Right.
pineapple.
You don't even have to cook some of these things.
It's so simple. It's so simple. And you know what's even better is that you don't have all these pots and pans and like grease.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's got oil in it, you don't have all this grease in the food. So at least getting them to eat a lot of fresh food can make a really big difference.
Yeah. And I think, when I speak at senior centers, I usually make Jeff Novick's longevity soup because it's super simple. And he says he created the recipe when his daughter was 8 years old and she had to come home and she got home first. And so she had to be able to cook it at 8 years old. So he says it requires a pot, a can opener, and a pair of scissors. So you can use, frozen vegetables and cans of tomatoes and beans, and then you just need a grain. And his point was that when he would go speak with places, he would go to the dollar store or to the local grocery store and show them, like, here's the things I got. It cost $5.95, to get these simple ingredients. You make the soup, it's going to last you 5 days, So those kind of things where we can show people, it does not have to be hard. It can be so simple. And I think that's going to be key for so many people, just finding out that it's going to save you money, not cost more money. It's going to save you time in the long run, not be causing you to spend more time. And you're going to feel better,
I've gotten some people who tell me, "Oh, well, it's easy just to pop a pizza in an oven, or it's just easier for me to grab something." And especially like when my kids were growing up, like birthday parties, like parents didn't want to bring healthy food because they said, "Oh, it's more time consuming." So I used to go to a party with my kids with something like a pineapple, like what Mike's holding up there. I would quickly, you could do it really quick, carving out the pineapple and having a little scooper and scoop watermelon balls, scoop pieces of pineapple and scoop parts of the pineapple back in. I would go with a pineapple boat, and the kids would love that. They would love it much more than all the candy and the cupcakes and the burgers. And that would be like the most attractive thing at the party. So it's a matter of, I think, just showing people to bring them back, because so many people don't even look at fruits and vegetables as being food anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm with you, VLynn, on the transition foods are so hard because some people transition to them and then never leave and take that next step to, from a regular burger to a McPlant, let's say, but they never make it to a black bean burger. Right. So, but I am a fan, especially with kids, like if kids love pizza, great. We're going to make pizzas at this party. You bring pitas, you make your own sauce, you bring some amazing toppings, and everybody gets to make their own pizza. Like you said, getting kids involved is a huge one, and making things they're familiar with can be so wonderful. And it doesn't have to be some crazy recipe. A cashew cheese, macaroni and cheese. My kids used to, that's what we would eat at home, right? And they couldn't wait to have regular mac and cheese. They'd go to a friend's house or something and have it. And then they'd come back and say, it doesn't even taste good anymore. So just slowly adopting your taste to these same kinds of food, but very different kinds of food also.
Yeah. And also getting our kids active with us at home.
For sure.
Like I used to bring
Yeah.
my kids up to the counter and get them even mini equipment. Like I would get them a mini blender, a mini food processor, even when they were really young, like age 3 and 5, they were up at the counter preparing food with me. So
Wow.
once parents learn, then they can start exposing their kids and getting their kids involved, because the more that kids are involved, the more that they're likely to eat the food. So I agree
Right.
with you, Rachel, that
Yeah.
bringing food to parties and getting kids involved with it is important.
I
Well,
totally
and
agree too. Yeah.
back to the agency thing, Meryl, like giving the kids choice. So, right, you take them with you to the grocery store and you don't ask like a yes or no question, right? Not like, do you want to pick a vegetable? Like,
Right.
no, they probably don't. But you say, would you rather have cucumbers or beans, or can you pick one green vegetable, anything here that you want to try this week? Like giving them some of those choices. And then you're right, having them help you prepare the food. I mean, they're so much more likely to eat the food if they've had hands-on experience with it. Even more so if they've grown it, then they will eat crazy things that they never would have touched before. But if they watered it and they picked it, there's something magical about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
So
as simple as bringing them to a store or a farmer's market. And I used to ask my kids, pick out a fruit and vegetable for every color of the rainbow,
Mhm.
so that they would go and bring things back to me and they'd be more connected to it because of the different colors. They would say how beautiful things were. And they, until to this
Well,
day,
if you
my
think
kids
about
love
it,
fruits and veggies.
parents don't know how to do that.
Right.
This generation of parents
Yeah,
didn't
no.
grow up that way,
They've
so they
lost
have
it.
no framework for that.
That's where
And
the
I used to
education comes in.
exactly. I used to think about how, a lot of my friends had the grandparents that showed them a lot of things, right? These children who are having children don't have that kind of grandparent. And the education is so key. And I was going to ask, or basically say that one of the things that we as a group can envision for the Sage Circle Alliance is that the ability to educate, like Meryl was saying, we could actually create something to make this happen. And that the ability to educate starts with us and ripples out, so that other people will feel supported as they have the same thinking that we do. They just feel like they don't have the support that encourages them to go to a PTA meeting or go to their junior ROTC and ask for something different. This is how I envision that we can create change, so that when we're back here a year from now for another birthday party, another birthday celebration, yay! We're able to say, we saw more pineapples get eaten. Mike, have you had a hard time finding them because everybody else is going for them too?
Well, there's not enough people seeking these out. I kind of tell people, yeah, you see me eating pineapple because I want you to eat more. Because if you buy more, they will grow more and there will be more ripe pineapples for everybody.
Yay. Yeah. And again, I had no idea. All the pineapples I bought were green, and I was wondering why I never even really got to cut them open. I ended up throwing them away because it was like there was some of that energy just was not there for me. I get it now.
VLynn, we lived in Hawaii for a year. Smell the bottom of it. When you pick a pineapple, smell the bottom of it. That'll help.
Okay.
Good one.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Education.
Well,
That
for
one
me,
smelling?
it's still got to be almost all yellow, or I will not eat it because I'll react in my mouth because it's not. To me, I guess you came in a little bit later, didn't hear our conversation. I buy more pineapples than anyone on earth. I'm fairly certain of that, and it has to be yellow. Otherwise, it's not ripe. It's going to cause some kind of problem for you.
Yeah.
But it can be yellow and not ripe too. Like, a few years ago, I bought a bunch of bananas at Costco and I brought them home and they didn't ripen. It'd been like 4 days, nothing changed. Then I was like, this is weird. It'd been a week, then 2 weeks. I was like, now this is like an experiment. I'm going to see how long these things last. Like 4 weeks later, they looked the exact same. And I took them back to Costco and I was like, I don't know what you're selling here, but something is very wrong. And they said, well, every once in a while this happens. Like they get tucked under when they spray the container to ripen the bananas before they unload them. They probably just didn't get sprayed. So color isn't always the best, but I do agree, Mike. It needs to be yellow, golden yellow. Yeah. So just a warning on the yellow bananas.
I agree. I'm only talking about pineapple. I'm only nothing else. Bananas, they're almost all picked, not ripe. Almost all pineapple picked, not ripe. And it has to be yellow when it's picked because it won't change on its own. At least I've never seen it been able to change. And that's why everyone tells me they can't eat as much. Like you didn't hear earlier, I ate 7 pineapples the other day, all day. That's all I had was pineapple 7. No bad reaction in the mouth, no bad, just all good reaction because they were all like this. Yeah. And people need to experience that because when they experience it, they won't want anything else. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to hop off, you guys. This has been lovely.
Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Thanks. It was great being with you all.
Birthday to Sage.
We're going to regroup and talk about child nutrition here soon.
Yes.
That's
I'm going to have to go soon as well.
Okay.
I can stay on a little bit longer though.
Okay.
Yes, I think we are going to talk child nutrition, children's health, and something else about children on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, and this was such a great conversation that we migrated into. I'm really happy that we did it because there's not too many conversations like this that are happening out there. Another reason
it was really refreshing.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah. Another reason that it's so valuable to be a member of the Safe Circle Alliance, because our goal is to have these kinds of conversations on a continuous basis. And I'm going to just throw into the mix too that the Safe Circle Alliance has a podcast. And the podcast is called Sage Talk for Wicked Problems. And so, we've talked about some wicked problems here today. I think Rachel even said wicked in some of what she was saying. And, we're going to talk about the problems. We're going to talk about the solutions. But even more than that, we are a group of, from all that I can see, action takers. And when there's something to be done, like this month-long, every day going live to invite people into the Safe Circle Alliance membership as charter members. This was something that, the thought was, can it really be done? Can we really do this? And the number of people that stepped up and said, yes, I want to contribute to the conversation. I want to contribute to the energy. I want to contribute to the fact that charter members and membership in general, because we'll always be looking for more professionals to come in to be a part of this hub resource. And this was just amazing to see how it happened and the story behind it. A year ago today, that letter went out and the response came in, and it was tremendous that Meryl was the first one to jump on it. And then according to Paul, there were up to 20 people subsequently to that said, yes, I want to be a part of it. And then as those people told people, we had 40 members in the founding membership, and we're growing the charter membership. And we do have new members in it. I forget what the count is, but we're getting new charter members because of the fact that this is going out to friends that we know are like-minded and want to make a bigger difference. And they're coming in and saying, all right, what can I do? And we're like, okay, the second half of the month has started. And so we may even be having some of those charter members to come in and be a part of the conversation about what they heard that made them want to become charter members within this organization. And I can tell you, it was funny. I was in the call with Will Tuttle, and I asked him the question, and I had no idea what the story was, but I asked him the question, what was it that intrigued you and made you say yes to becoming a founding member of the Sage Circle Alliance? And he said, well, quite honestly, I don't know a whole lot about what the organization is offering, but I knew enough from the people that I talked to, from Julie and from Kathleen and myself and from a couple other people, Paul and Meryl, that he had spoken to. He said, I knew enough that I wanted to be a part of what was going to be happening. And, when you can look at something like that and not just the credibility of the people that are involved, but the fact that they are doers. They don't just talk a big game. They don't talk it and look to others to do all of the heavy lifting. We're all doing the heavy lifting, and it's going to pay off. Everything that I've known of, that people have come together with this kind of a mission and just cohesiveness. And I'm going to even put Meryl's word in here, an understanding or an openness to understand interdependence.
Yeah.
Things work.
And I think we're all passionate.
Yes.
And passionate is very empowering. And I feel that we all have a mission to make this work and to spread this valuable message. I know it's my life's mission, and I know that it's a lot of everyone's mission who's in this group. That's why I wanted to be a founding member.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to be with other people who stand for this message, for this plant-powered message.
Agreed.
What were you going to say, Mike?
More.
I was going to say this, hopefully the Sage Circle Alliance will allow society to reach a tipping point, because I have no doubt that we will reach a tipping point in the near future where, we'll look at this like smoking, right? Because I grew up in the 70s, 80s. I think maybe you were all maybe a little bit, maybe the 60s too, but it was all the same. It's like every building was full of smoke. Every car was full of smoke. Like everywhere I went there, and no one cared about it, and they didn't care if I was breathing it in, even though they knew I didn't like it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The food is now, and we've got to change that. Absolutely. People will become educated, as all of you had said. It's an education issue, and eventually enough people will open their minds. That's the other part that's required, is open-mindedness. And as I kind of mentioned, I don't know if you heard me in the discussion, someone was saying, well, why wasn't this McDonald's burger here in the United States? It's because people in the United States are very stubborn, right? I mean, that's the history of the United States right there in one word. It's stubborn, I'd say. Good or bad, but in this case, it's very bad, because we need to change this paradigm of health and food. And it's to our detriment that we're stubborn on it. People should be more open-minded, I believe. I hope.
And it's only going to be through education, because
That's
if
right.
they don't hear more about what we're talking about, it's just going to stay the same.
Mm-hmm. You can't change
Because
what you don't know about.
Yeah, the education is certainly right now coming from the people who have the money to educate, and the people who have that money are the large food companies and the pharmaceutical companies and the chemical companies.
Yeah.
And that's where the education is coming from, in the form of marketing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I am going to have to leave, but it was so lovely to spend time with you all. I look forward tomorrow to speaking with Kathleen and VLynn about children's health. So that's been something that I've been focusing on for many years, and looking forward to having a discussion on going into even more.
Meryl and you and me.
Okay. I didn't realize
that. Also be fun.
Yeah.
Well, Meryl and I are on the same page, so.
I'm there with you too. I don't cook for kids. I bring the kids to you guys.
All right, hopefully the whole thing worked out, so this isn't going to be a problem going forward anymore for kids, right?
Right.
Right. We're going to do some stuff.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's why Sage Circle Alliance is needed, because we need enough people to get involved in this. This is a tough issue, and it will be solved. Like I said, I'm an optimist. So I'm very thankful that everyone has gathered under this, under this alliance, and it's gonna make it happen. That's how it's gonna go.
Most
Definitely.
definitely.
I like
Yeah.
that prediction.
Thanks, Karen. It's been good talking with you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ken. Bye-bye.
Bye. All
So,
right. We
yeah,
have
come
about
full
10
circle.
minutes. Mhm.
Oh, we're still here. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we're still here. We have 10 minutes, 9 minutes.
And I'm so proud of you. The yellow umbrella and the pineapple, and you have
And you
just
have
been
held
holding
onto
your
that
ground.
pineapple the whole time. Amazing.
Well, this all goes into, I mentioned I have a book, right? It's free. I'm not selling anything. Live to 150. People can go to liveto150.org. And this is one of the things I talk about is purposeful exercise. Like this is strength training. I'm holding an umbrella. I'm holding a pineapple while we're talking about pineapples and food and good stuff. I'm on the farm out here, outdoors. I'm standing up, right? I'm also not sitting down. I'm standing up. So all of these things, like I am a big believer in designing lifestyle so that you don't have to go out of your way to do what your body wants to get done. Because like VLynn, like you said, you're talking about, I can't remember what the exact subject was, but the general idea I got from it was balance. You said moderation, I think, but I'm thinking balance. Life is all about balance, right?
Mhm.
So that's the key. I don't want to have to, live a life that's so out of balance that I have to go and do something later on that I don't want to do. I want it incorporated in my lifestyle. And I'm big on that. So I don't mind. Don't think I'm doing anything other than what I'd much rather stand out here holding a pineapple and an umbrella than go to a gym and lift weights. It seems awfully boring to me, to do that.
Right?
It comes down to there's so many ways to do this lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
To do this healthy lifestyle. And being in nature is certainly a part of it. And, if the gym is your thing, go to the gym, have your plants at home, have your nature inside the home. There's so many ways to do all of this. And I love that about this lifestyle.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that statement. If that's your thing, do it. As long as you're like the strength training is the part that I'm talking about. The aerobic exercise is the part I'm talking about. Everybody should do some of that. I believe that's something that is conducive to a long and happy and pain-free life.
Yeah, you're so right. And, I encourage people to find what that is for you. Because I know that there are so many ways that we can do this lifestyle. Part of the experiment, we were talking about the experiment with the little girl. We need to experiment with ourselves too. I heard Dr. Pam Popper one time talk about she helped clients to experiment with themselves. And I thought, wow. And this was like near the beginning of my journey. I thought, okay, I'm going to do some experimentation. One of my experiments was I'm going to cook dinner for me and I'm going to cook dinner for my family. What I cooked for the family, they hated. And it was something that I used to cook all the time. And I thought, okay, this is my chance to say, I can't do this anymore. It's not working. And then I want to say the same night I had that dream,
right,
which took me to the next day to say, we got to do this different. We have to find what we can do. And it starts with ourselves, and if you need something outside of yourself to start with your children, see their future, talk up their future and do this for them and experiment with yourself. Allow them to contribute, like Karen was saying, bring them in the kitchen with you. I've always been a proponent of that. My daughter cooks so well. I'm like, how did you learn it? My grandmother. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine too. But now she's learning how to change some of those dishes. And one of the things I loved is somebody at the NHA conference last year led me to somebody that does a recipe. Oh, no, it was Brittany Giroudi. She said, we're taking all of our family's old recipes and changing them to whole food, plant-based versions of the same recipes. And I thought, until you get educated, some of this stuff just doesn't even come in, and when you do hear it, when you do see it, when, going to a birthday party and taking the watermelon and cutting it and doing the watermelon balls right there so you can put them on the plate and people can serve them as you're still doing more. I mean, that's exciting. The kids come up and say, how are you doing that? Oh, I just got this little, wow. And the pineapple, the same thing with the pineapple and cutting up the chunks of pineapple. There's so many ways.
I remember last summer, we had already found our good sources of pineapples. Denise and I have been eating so many pineapples for almost about 2 years now. We found some very good sources for ripe ones. And we happened to be going to her mother's birthday party. She's almost 80 now. And we stopped at one of our sources and I was able to pick up 12 ripe pineapples there. So we brought them all over to the party. And like you said, I cut them for everybody and they loved it. Most people were like, I've never had a pineapple like this. And I'm like, again, as I said earlier in this broadcast, it's because you don't eat ripe fruit. Unfortunately, ripe fruit is so hard to find. And they tasted it. They loved it. It was such a great experience for them. Unfortunately, they can't recreate it because they don't know where to get them. But, we'll get there as a society. If eating these pineapples or some other fruit or some other vegetable is a thing and enough people buy it, these businesses and companies will figure out how to get all that stuff to you if there's a demand. So this is make the demand.
Yeah.
We have about 3 minutes left before we get to the top of the hour. So VLynn, let's talk a little bit about how people can find us and how they can get involved.
Yes. Finding us is easy. The SageCircleAlliance.org, SageCircleAlliance.org. And on the page, you're going to find just some amazing stuff, as a matter of fact. But we really are about the future of plant-based lifestyle is now. And if you don't know anything about it, I want you to know that it's possible. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
The future of plant-based lifestyle is now.
Yeah. Our tagline is a little bit different than that, but we'll need to change that. No worries.
Health, compassion, saving our planet. Those are our 3 areas of focus. And if you are a doctor, a medical professional of any type, nurse, radiologist, and, you work in the hospital, you work for a children's organization, you're someone who has an interest in this area, lifestyle medicine. There's so many areas that if you're a fitness professional or a chef, a vegan chef, we want you as part of the Alliance because we have the opportunity for us to be a larger collective voice, to get heard, to get seen, to make a difference through the work that we all do. There's so many places on the page that you can click to become a member now, find more information, watch the videos. Oh my goodness. I'm going to take a minute.
I was given 2 choices.
Can you see that?
Undergo heart surgery,
Yes.
or change my lifestyle.
In 2013, Paul Chatlin chose a plant-based diet over heart surgery, and within 3 weeks, his heart disease symptoms significantly improved, inspiring him to help others. He turned his personal victory into a platform for change, touching thousands of lives from corporate boardrooms to community centers.
We are uniting the pioneers, change makers, and the thought leaders, because together we are stronger.
Our world is crying out for change. Every choice, every voice, every action counts. My name is Meryl Fury, and my journey into plant-based living started not just as a personal choice, but as a mission to heal ourselves and our planet.
As a nurse, Meryl has seen the transformative power of whole food, plant-based eating. But she knew the change had to be bigger, broader, and more inclusive.
So that's why we're launching the Sage Circle Alliance. It's more than a network, it's a movement where your voice and your passion and your actions can truly make a difference.
Wow.
Mhm.
And there's several of those videos right here on the front page. You'll see the purpose for the organization. There's a join button right there. We'll see some of the testimonials, and you can even sign up to subscribe to our newsletter. But in the top right-hand corner, you can see this is where my membership is for Vegan Visibility Productions. And if you're just looking at this, you'll see a green join button. Click that and it'll take you to the join page. And on that page, you will see the list of membership levels that we have to join our community. The criteria is really simple. And we're looking for like-minded people, but you can join as a volunteer, a student, a solo entrepreneur, a nonprofit, a startup, a small business, lifestyle medicine, if you're board certified in lifestyle medicine, any area. And we're looking at all areas being a part of the Sage Circle Alliance, even corporate memberships and corporate plus. If you have employees that you want to either be a part of the organization or learn from the organization, you can do a corporate plus membership and then enterprise membership. We're also looking for sponsors, and our network is vast. We've got people in every area. We have events, and our calendar is growing, but you'll be able to come out here and select an event and attend an event that is coming up that you might be interested in. News and resources. We've got some amazing blog articles out here. And as a member, you can submit your blog articles for publishing on the website. We've got
I even add as a VLynn, as a member, you can post your own events on that event calendar so that more people can see it, and the people in the alliance can help share your event.
Absolutely.
Information.
Podcasts. Got a couple of the podcast shows out here already, and there will be more. Some of the founding members haven't had an opportunity to actually complete all of the membership opportunities and benefits that are available to them. So you will be seeing that soon, but I wanted to show you what the opportunities are that are available, or at least some of them, because there's so much more. There's going to be a page of books that if you're an author, you're a part of the community and you're an author, you can put your book up there. There's going to be networking opportunities where we'll be networking within the organization, get to know other members, what it is that they do. And one of the things that we are looking at doing is promoting the co-creation of events, live, online, all kinds of events. Vegan Visibility Productions is working on our virtual summit, and many of the SEA members are going to be invited to participate in our summit. We actually do multiple summits per year, and they're topical. They're based on subject matter. You know, one is child health, one is people health, one is a business, because we're all about business, and you got to be healthy to be in business these days. So, you know, I think you can tell, very excited about not just being a member of the Sage Circle Alliance, but being one of the leaders within the organization. And I think we're all leaders in this organization. So there's room for all of us. And there's
Yeah.
room for more as we continue to grow. We'll make a bigger difference the bigger we grow.
Most definitely. Thank you, VLynn. I have
You're
so
welcome.
appreciated this conversation and your support and leadership through it all. Okay, my last comment. I have just about finished this popcorn. I'm so
Ready for me.
Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. I've just been chipping away at it. So, yeah.
Oh,
Well, we will
well,
be back tomorrow, round about the
happy
same
birthday,
time.
SCA.
Hey,
That's right. It is officially our birthday. We are officially 1 year old today. Even though we are just now, it's like our coming out party, you know. We've been in the background getting all the stuff together with Mike cheering us on with his very ripe pineapple. Yeah, so we will be back tomorrow, same time, same location, and with more inspiring information about all things plant-based and making a difference in the world for health, compassion, and planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, Meryl. Thank you for, locking arms with Paul and really creating something that we all can lock arms with you guys on and
grateful.
move forward with.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
grateful for everyone in the Alliance and all those who are yet to join, because there's work to do. We got to work it together. That is for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all your work with the kids directly, and hopefully the SCA will provide that extra little push to get everything done that you want to get done.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You know, it helps to being the co-founder. I can sort of
Leverage that title, huh?
Very important work. Very important work.
Yes, it is. Thank you, guys. I'm going to jump.
Thank
It's
you.
been amazing.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Happy birthday, everybody.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.